Hello everyone, here I'm going to show you how I achieved this beautiful rose quartz inspired soap. This was actually my second time making it when I made this video, and my second time doing embeds and working with melt and pour. So here we go. Make sure you have your safety equipment on, goggles and gloves and long sleeves. So I'm going to go ahead and measure out my distilled water in this bowl. Now I'm just going to measure out my sodium hydroxide to add to my distilled water. And I'm going to be talking about some things I would do different my third go around with the soap. Now I'm going to go ahead and just mix that sodium hydroxide into my distilled water. I actually like to make this beforehand so that it cools down while I'm measuring on my other oils and butters. So I'm just gonna get the rest of that lye out of that container and just mix my water together real well, making sure all the lye is dissolved in the water. Now I'm going to measure out my fragrance oil. Today I'm using Rose Quartz by Bramble Berry. It's a nice citrusy smell, a little twist to your traditional rose fragrance. So my first oil I'm going to measure out is my avocado oil. Castor oil. My olive oil. And I put my olive oil in one of the little jars because I have a big box of it. It's just easier for me to put it in there. Now in goes my canola oil. Now I'm going to move on to my hard oils, and first is my coconut oil. Then I'm moving on to my palm oil. Goes the butters. Shea butter, baby. So here are my rose quartz crystal embeds I made about a week ago prior to making this video. I just used melt and pour soap and a little bit of pink mica and just cut them up to where they look like little gems, little quartz stones. They actually turned out pretty nice. And these are just the shavings from what I cut from the quartz crystal stones. My daughter, she kind of separated it from light to dark for me, so that was nice of her, but yes. Now I'm going to go ahead and add sodium lactate to my cooled lye water solution. And I use about a teaspoon per pound of oil. Now that my lye water is cooled, I'm going to go ahead and pour my melted hard oils into my liquid oils. And get all that extra oil out of that bucket. And now I'm going to go ahead and add my lye water to my oils. I'm going to go ahead and pour it down the shaft of this stick blender to reduce air bubbles. But somehow I always get air bubbles. I'm not sure if I'm not beating the air out of the stick blender enough or tapping it. And here we go, blendy, blendy. And I'd always wanted to do a little slow motion of the soap being blended in the pots. So awesome. So I'm blending it to thin trace because I don't really want a thick, so I'm going to be doing it in the pot swirl. And now I'm just dividing the batter into 3 containers. I should have did less pink in my containers, but this is my second time making the soap, and when I made it the first time, I really didn't write anything down. I was just kind of winging it. I literally looked at tons of videos and kind of put a whole bunch of techniques that everyone used in their videos and put it all in my video. So the colors I'm using is, that is titanium dioxide that I'm putting into the first bowl. And I'm going to be using a Snowflake Sparkle Mica from Bramble Berry. Not sure if it really shows up in the soap, but I thought it was pretty, and it kind of gives it that little shimmer, opaque shimmer that you see in quartz crystal. And then the second color, I'm going to be using Raspberry Mica, also from Bramble Berry. And I used a teaspoon in this batch, and I probably, if I recall, I only used a half a teaspoon when I made the soap the first time. And then the third color is Rose Gold Mica by Bramble Berry, and I mix all of my micas. I use 1 teaspoon of mica into 1 tablespoon of sweet almond oil or a light thin oil. Now I'm going to go ahead and mix the colors. Oh, after I add my fragrance oil to my containers. So yeah, I should have used a little less of that raspberry color mica, but I just take notes now and use that in the future. So I didn't realize that once I started dropping the pink into the white batter, the pinks kind of look the same color, so I need to use not so much, because I kind of wanted that rose quartzy look still. And I mean, the soap looks nice, but you learn. And here I'm adding this a titch more of titanium dioxide to kind of lighten it a little bit. And also what I've learned, anytime I use titanium dioxide, I need to add that laugh because it thickens up your soap batter. So now I'm just going to plop the colors into my bowl here, and I'm pouring it in high so that it kind of goes down to the bottom of my container. And I really didn't have any pattern I was specifically going for. I was just dropping it in 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I guess, and in the middle. And then now I'm going to go ahead and plop that rose gold in between the raspberry color. Floppy, floppy. See how the colors are so similar, but you know. And then now I'm just gonna kind of do a little couple of figure eights. You don't want to blend it too much. And now we're ready to pour it in the mold. So I'm just going to put a little layer on the bottom here. Again, I'm just pouring it in. Don't really have any certain way, just pour it in the mold. And here I'm going to go ahead and add those cut up melt and pour crystals. And again, I had no, like I said, I took a whole bunch of little techniques from other videos, and I think on my first video, or not my first video, the first soap, I actually the soap was a little thicker, so I was able to kind of do everything at an angle, so to speak, or kind of push up some of the soap so it kind of angled a little bit. But this batter was a little bit thinner, on the thinner side. So now I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle some of that Snowflake Mica with my little fairy duster bobber. And then I realized I didn't put enough mica dye in there, so I had to refill it for the next go around. And then here I'm going to go ahead and pour some more of my soap batter onto those embeds. And then I'm going to go ahead and add another little row onto the other side of the loaf. And I kind of push them down a little bit. And then I'm going to get the other color, the little lighter color, and add those too. So it's all pretty and sparkly. Now I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle some of that fairy dust onto my loaf. And I had to refill it up, and I still didn't put enough in there, but I was like, okay, that's good enough. And then now I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of my pink into my pot here. And pour that into the mold. I did leave a little bit in the container so I can put on top and kind of do a little design. Now it's going into the mold. Yay! Container, and I had so much extra batter, so I'm going to be putting those into some heart molds. Give a little shake. So now I'm just going to go ahead and just take that extra that I had in the container and kind of make a little line on each side of my mold here with the pinks. And that is the raspberry mica color. And I'm going to go in with the rose gold color. I'm just going to take my chopstick and on the top layer just kind of do a little swirl. Beautiful! So since I had extra batter, I'm going to go ahead and just pour it in these cute little 3D heart-shaped molds that I purchased off of Amazon. I'm going to be making my lotion bars that are going to be going into my Valentine's Day basket with these molds. A little batter left. I'm going to go ahead and just plop that into that mold there again. No batter gets left behind. I'm just doing a little swirl on top, you know, nothing fancy. And these soaps probably go into the kids' gift boxes for their teachers for Valentine's Day. Spritz it with some alcohol, 99.9%, to prevent soda ash. Now I'm going to go back into messing with my soap here. So I had to let the soap sit to thicken up just a little bit because it was still kind of loose. So I'm just kind of mounding it up on the side. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my rose quartz embeds into the middle of the soap. And I have made the lines on my mold to put the crystals in between, but it really doesn't matter because my soap cutter cuts it. The crystals are pretty soft, so the soap cutter can actually cut through that. So I just eventually just kind of threw them anywhere in the middle. So now that I have all the crystals in the soap, I'm going to go ahead and take those cut up pieces and kind of place them along the side of the soap, ensuring that I'm pressing the embeds down into that soap batter just so they can stick a little bit. And I'll do that on each side. So now that I have those embeds in, I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle some more on top. So I don't like to waste my soap, so I still have some left over. So I'm just going to go ahead and put those in and fill it into the gaps. And now I'm just going to kind of squish everything together to kind of push all the soap on the edge of the mold. And this is my OCD kicking in to you guys. But the soap looks awesome! Now I'm going to spritzy with some alcohol. And I kind of get carried away with the alcohol. I'm like, a couple more sprays. And then in that little bowl, I have some melted melt and pour. So what I'm doing is drizzling the melted melt and pour over where the crystals are at. So that's why I sprayed the alcohol on there, to help that adhere to the crystals. So I'm just putting that all around where there is crystals or melt and pour soap, and then spray again, spray, and it also prevents soda ash too. And now I'm going to take the remainder of my Mica that I didn't use, and I'm going to go ahead and just drizzle that over the top. And I think next time I'm going to like mix some more, but I'm going to mix it with the alcohol instead and see if that makes any difference. It just makes it a little looser. And now I'm going to take the raspberry mica and drizzle that over the top of the soap. Just kind of drizzle it anywhere. Going to spritz it with some more alcohol. So I think next time I'm going to use less pink color, mainly less raspberry mica. And I'm also not going to forget to turn the oven off because I think I melted my embeds a little bit. But other than that, the soap looks beautiful. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment down below if you want to see more videos. Thank you.